has been a concern for a lot of teams heading into this draft. Young listed at 6 feet, but one anonymous scout said, nah, he's only 5'10 and a half. Young will be measured officially later this week at the NFL Combine. Shannon, what do you think? Do you have any doubts about Bryce Young's height?
No. Someone was throwing that ball at Alabama. Whether he's 6 foot or 5'10", some 5'10", 6 foot guy won the Heisman Trophy. Some 5'10", 6 foot guy skipped through the most touchdown passes, the most passing yards in a single season in Alabama history. And we know how rich the history is at Alabama. Somebody did all that. And he did it playing in the highest conference in all of football. The SEC puts more players in the NFL. They had more players going to the NFL scouting combine than any other conference. There have been a Skip. If Bryce Young does not succeed in the NFL, it will not be because of his height. Because there have been a lot of 6'5", 6'6" quarterbacks that were terrible. And they didn't fail because of their height. They just weren't good. And I believe that's the problem if there is an issue with Bryce Young, he just won't be able to cut it. But Skip, the thing is with these guys now, in order to succeed, guess what you have to do? You have to change arm slots. You throw over the top, you throw 3/4, you throw sidearm, but you find a way. You throw through lanes. Very few guys throw every single pass over the top, Skip. Drew Brees and Russell Wilson and guys have found ways to navigate, throwing through lanes and alleys in order to get the ball to where it needs to be. It seems to me, and that anonymous scout, that's probably why he's probably been on 5 or 6 teams. Because what they do, Skip, is that they go to try to find a way why the guy shouldn't be drafted where he is, as opposed to looking at all the highlights. I'm not saying you don't critique him fairly, but somebody at 5'10", let's just say for the sake of argument, Skip, he is 5'10". Someone that was 5 foot 10 inches tall accomplished everything that young man did. He did that. Mm-hmm. He did all of that. I believe he's going to be successful at the next level. But if he isn't, it will not be because of his height. Because there are a lot of guys that are prototypical. 6'4", 6'5", 225, 235, and can't play dead in a horror film. Mm. So Bryce Young, I have no concerns about Bryce Young's height. Because I saw him do it at the elite level against top. I saw what he did against Georgia in the SEC championship game. I saw what he did against Auburn on the road, Skip, when he came from behind and everybody said they were dead. I saw what he did at Texas. I saw what he did against A&M. I got no concerns about this young man. Zero concerns. His height or anything. Yeah, he's slightly built. Yeah, his frame is wiry. That's the question you have, kid, someone. I think maybe he could add another 10 pounds, Skip. But his height, that's not a concern for me.
I have even less concern than you do, if that's possible. This young man is gifted throwing the football from any arm slot imaginable. And when he needs to drop down and throw sidearm, he just does. When he needs to create space with his feet or his legs, he just does.
He does.
Because he is mobile. He can maneuver in the pocket, and he can gash you downfield if you dare him to, playing man, running with your men, and you just leave the middle of the field open. He will rip your heart out that way. He's got the whole package. I wish he were 6'3", but he's not. But it did not matter at all at Alabama. And I read a quote from Daniel Jeremiah, and I have a lot of respect for him, but he said, if Bryce Young 6'3", 220, I would be talking about him like I talked about Burrow and Trevor Lawrence coming out.
Yes.
Well, I'm willing to talk about him now as is, as Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, because he's got that kind of potential, and I believe he will realize said potential. He's got clutch guts to him. I saw him in big moment after big moment take the game over. He made throws. The game you talked about against Auburn, there were 5 or 6 games where he just took my breath away with the late throw. I said, how did you do that?
Skip, it's kind of like when you say, well, you know, you go back and you look at Jordan, you say, well, he really never had a bad game. What game in his 2 years of starting that you look back and say, you know what? This kid played bad. He was the reason why Alabama lost. You can't find a game where you said he was the reason why they lost.
Did he get a little beat up here and there? They all do.
Yes.
Could he take the pounding in the SEC? Yep. He did. He's still standing, man, and he looks pretty great to me. So the point is, I have so much respect for him. And if you look at my track record, I've been pretty good at picking college quarterbacks coming in, whether they're going to sink or swim in pro football. Justin Fields surprised me last year with his legs because I didn't see that coming from Ohio State.
Well, he didn't show it.
He just didn't show it. But he was actually a little better passer at Ohio State than he has been for the Bears.
Yes.
That could be attributed to the offensive line, of which there's not much.
Well, it happened to be because of those two receivers. That's
Okay.
one of the lobby, the other is Garrett Wilson.
that you can make that case, and he hasn't had either one of those in Chicago. He got sacked the most times in the NFL last year, 55 times. That can be attributed somewhat that he does run with the football,
Right.
and he runs into some trouble occasionally.
Absolutely.
But his completion percentage was 60%. That ranked
not near good enough.
32nd out of 34 qualified.
That's not good enough,
It's
Skip.
just not good enough. He was 17 touchdowns to 11 interceptions.
That's not good enough.
It's not great. It's not terrible, but it's not great. He averaged 150 yards passing per game. It's just not good enough.
Not in today's Skip. That's 70s football. That's 60s football. In today's game, you need to be around. A good quarterback should be able to average at least 250.
Okay. But he led the National Football League in yards per carry. He was 7.1. Every time he took off with the football, he averaged 7 yards a carry.
I don't want that for my quarterback, though,
Well,
Skip.
you can make that case.
I don't.
But he did take my breath away 2 or 3 times because he looked like Eric Dickerson to me.
Yeah.
He just had easy glide pickup.
Yes.
Where you'd say,
oh, yeah, he can run.
Where did that come from?
He can pick him up and put him down.
Okay. That's not enough to go win a championship. Again, they don't have the pieces around him yet. But I'm going to just go on record again. If I'm sitting there, if I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm going to have a hard time trading that pick away because this other kid is special.
Yeah.
Special. He's got all the intangibles. He's got the clutch gene. He's got all the things that I want in a quarterback, except he's only 5'10" and a half. Is that going to make you pass by?
Let me ask you this. Okay, you're the Chicago Bears. You say you want to take him. Okay, what can I get for Justin Fields? Can I build? Because here's the thing, Skip. If I keep Justin Fields and I trade that pick, I know damn well I can get
a lot. You can get a lot.
I might give me a Herschel Walker deal, Skip. I might get a Herschel Walker.
Yep. In fact, I think you will get a Herschel Walker
Okay,
deal.
Not a Herschel Walker, but I'm saying an Emmitt Smith, a Russell Malley, and all the pieces that go along. Because, Skip, I do not believe the Bears are a quarterback away. They need more than a quarterback. That car needs an engine. It needs some tires. It needs a paint job.
I agree. But ultimately, you do need the quarterback.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay? So
Need the engine.
do you want to do it upside down or right side up? I don't know. Do you want to go start with Bryce Young and then see if you can build around Bryce Young?
Right.
You got some pieces there, but not enough.
Skip, you need offensive line.
Okay,
you need wide receivers.
Okay,
Because the wide receivers let Justin Fields down. They're not very good.
I agree. It's just going to be a nightmarish situation for the Chicago Bears to say, okay, we trade away the first-round pick to Indy or whoever it's going to be.
Right.
Whoever's going to trade up to take Bryce Young.
Right.
Because they're going to take Bryce Young.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay? And now you're going to have to wait. And over the next 10, 15, 20 years, you might have to watch Bryce Young haunt you and torment you and torture you with his greatness.
Right.
Well, that's the risk of this. It's a dilemma that is all time.
It would be so much easier, Skip, if you didn't just take a quarterback 2 years ago in the first round. It would be just so much easier if Lovie Smith had just let this thing in like it was supposed to end.
That is true.
But
he stuck you with this.
He did.
Yeah.
And probably the Houston Texans are probably going to have to trade a lot of those draft picks that they got from Cleveland with the Deshaun Watson deal, Skip. And they're going to have to probably move those picks if they want this kid.
Well, now you do, if you're the Bears, you do have one excuse. He's only 5'10".
Right.
So you can try to sell your fandom on, he's just not big enough.
Well, you know what's going to happen, Skip? Will you see what happened when you trade up to get Mitchell Trubisky and there's a guy like Deshaun Watson and there's a guy like Patrick Mahomes that's sitting in the back? So what's your excuse for that one? Chicago, you've already goofed this up. Skip, you goofed it up like 5 years ago.
Once you goof it up, it takes you 5 years to ungoof it.
And now you got a situation where it fell in your lap. Because you was not, I guarantee you, Skip, when you woke up that morning, you like, man, they on the road, man, they ain't going to win this game. We're going to get the second pick in the draft, and we're going to get a pretty good player, but we're not going to have the number one pick. And lo and behold, the game you walking out the field, and everybody's hugging you, not because you won, but because you got the first pick in the draft.
True. I agree. I would not want to be the Bears GM right now.
Because, Skip, basically, this is your career. Everything that you do is tied to this. I would not. Everybody told me, I want it to be easy. Let me pick the fifth slot. Let everything just fall into place. I don't want these kind of decisions, Skip.
Or a consensus number one overall where you just say, well, this is a no-brainer. You got to take so-and-so.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I got to take Trevor Lawrence.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah.
Even some people like, I think there were only 28 teams back then, but maybe one or two teams had I don't know, that Ryan Leaf kid. Did you see that big kid?
No, a lot of people loved him. A lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one that I missed on because that was the last. I told you this. It was the last time I leaned on advice from the USC coaching staff. I knew them all: Paul Hackett, Dennis Thurman. There are five of them who were close friends. They loved Ryan Leaf because he had come to the Coliseum and just gunslung.
Well, Skip, it was not anything. It's nothing not too like big kid that can throw the ball 80 yards. Yeah, can make every throw.
They all said the quote I kept hearing: he plays quarterback like a linebacker would play. Okay, and he couldn't take. He was fine in Walla Walla, like he is in Pullman, like he's fine when he's off spotlight.
Right.
But once he got in the spotlight in San Diego, he fell apart.
He did.
Okay. But a lot of people loved him. That was a 50-50.
So you're saying I'm trading Justin Fields and I'm selecting Bryce Young number one over.
I'm going to hope somebody will give me a first rounder for Justin Fields.
Oh, they'll give you a first rounder.
I think they will.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, I go to Indy. Indy, because Indy gonna want the number one pick.
Yeah.
Who can you trade him to? Who want Atlanta? Baltimore? Carolina?
Yeah. I don't know. There are 5 or 6 teams that
I want your first round pick, and if I trade you Carolina, I want Brian Burns.
Okay.
Skip, because you need defensive help. You need somebody who can get up the quarterback.
Absolutely.
I'm just not taking a first round pick. I need a quality starter. And if I trade that pick to Indiana, the Colts, I want that big D tackle.
Okay.
Yeah. And I want Quentin Nelson.
Yeah. Well, for